Hello, my friends. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. I love saying that. So, my friends, I was thinking about the political system we have in America, and I was thinking about the culture around that system and how that culture prides many of its adherents, many of us who happen to be incidentally or integrally involved in that system, in that culture, with adhering to personalities. Think about it. The party nomination systems of the electoral processes always include a single person at the top of a ticket, and that person is colloquially considered to be representative of that entire party and or that ideology. So, for example, Donald Trump was said to be representative of conservatism. Joe Biden is said to be representative of the current Democratic Party, whatever that is these days. But I find that, and this has been my project for a very long time, I find that when we cling to personalities, we're not necessarily getting to the truth of things. We're not necessarily understanding things independent of people. We are giving universal principles, so it should be understood as universal principles, a sunset date. And by tying them to the existence of a single person, I'm talking about none other than Madison Cawthorn. So, Madison Cawthorn, this guy, I've been thinking about him for a very long time. He represents North Carolina's 11th congressional district, which is a pretty conservative area, except the area of Asheville, which is pretty much a blue diamond in a sea of red. And Madison Cawthorn is the youngest person ever elected to Congress. And for that very reason, for him being the youngest person ever elected to Congress and also being a conservative individual, many individuals on the right were actually in full praise of Madison Cawthorn for that very reason. Plus, his very youthful, vigorous, virile aesthetic makes a lot of people similarly very attuned to this man. And his ability to be somewhat articulate on issues also makes a lot of folks attuned to this man. But I found that amidst all this, those superficial things are precisely what drove Madison Cawthorn's rise to power. Those superficial things are primarily what fuels his continued operation in the political system. And so many folks have idolized this man and praised this man. And the consequence of that is the recognition that human beings are fundamentally imperfect. After he won his seat, there were constituents of his that were not very pleased with him being the congressperson. And he said this: cry more, lib. This is an individual who is in the United States Congress, who has to represent an entire district of people, diverse, very different people who may have the same ideology but different flavors of that ideology, and here he is saying cry more lib to his own constituents. Then more news came out about him visiting the gravesite of the Führer, as he said it, the Führer. Now, I'll be honest with you, in this Instagram post he did say that it was supreme evil, but it is very anachronistic and very, 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 very concerning for him to say the Führer as an honorific. If you're saying it in a historical context, fine, but he seemed to say it as an honorific. Then, the news came out about Madison Cawthorn, as BuzzFeed reported, potentially, allegedly, making advances with women on the Patrick Henry College campus. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Patrick Henry College is a small Christian conservative campus of a few hundred people, and many, many women are currently accusing Madison Cawthorn of sexual impropriety. So look, this is not about Madison Cawthorn per se. And I hope these accusations are false. I truly do. I see this on my Twitter. I hope they're false. This is not about Madison Cawthorn. This is about how we as individuals, we as Americans, interact with our political system. I don't care who anyone is. You should never idolize someone on the basis of their ideas until you understand the fullest extent of what they're talking about. And Madison Cawthorn has not shown a full, rounded grasp on conservative or libertarian ideas. He's simply shown talking points. That's one reason why the right should not even be involved with this guy, because he's not showing a grasp on issues and principles. And if he's going to be in a den of lions, a den of people who don't believe in the individual, a den of people who want to have the government control every aspect of our life, a den of people who have no conception of individual liberty and believe that liberty comes from social context or historical ills. If he is going to be in that den, you have to be a fighter, but you have to be a fighter that is rounded and that is based in epistemic and intellectual truth, man. But despite all of this, people still idolized him. And guess what? The idol is coming down, my friends. I have nothing against Madison Cawthorn as a person, but I have everything against this pernicious cultural force in American politics that idolizes people for superficial reasons and appends ideas to their being. My friends, we are vessels for ideas. Ideas, unless they are impersonal, which are very few, manifest through our beings and emerge from our tongues, my friends. From the tip of our tongues can come life and death, as the ancient texts say. Human beings are vessels for ideas. We are not the paragon of an idea itself. And we have to understand that, especially in political context. Because when you idolize Christian Watson, when you idolize Madison Cawthorn, when you idolize these people, what you're really doing is you're projecting your inner desires. You're projecting what you want to see. You're projecting your excitement about them sharing your views and making them something that is greater than they are. And you're completely and utterly missing the point. You are, as Heraclitus would say back in the ancient Greek, you are missing the logos. You are missing the truth, the word, and you're entrapping yourself to a private understanding of the world. My friends, Madison Cawthorn is just one example of this. There are leftists that idolize AOC and Ilhan Omar. There are leftists that idolize Bernie Sanders. There are people on the right who idolize other people as well. My point is this: don't idolize political figures, because it prevents you from finding the truth, number one. It appends universal principles to temporal circumstances, and it makes you unable to critically examine a person. And if a person is in a position of power, they must be critically examined, because goodness knows accountability is immensely important in a system founded upon individual liberty. And also, the fourth reason: politics is simply meant to be the science of preserving rights. When you idolize political figures, you're making politics about your subjective experience, and therefore destroying the objective purpose of political action. Don't do that. Avoid that. Because guess what? This American experiment is greater than the taste of you or I. This American experiment is predicated upon eternal truths that we can't find in one man or one woman. So whether it's Christian Watson or Madison Cawthorn, don't idolize us. Understand who we are as people who are flawed, who are trying to understand the world, and proceed about being adherent to principles, above all, in people below that standard. Think on it. As always, my friends, I love you, and please stay pensive.